So, it all started initially with the domestic market, of course, with the Indian market. That's where we saw opportunity in terms of the fact that there were no, organized safety equipment manufacturers, PPE manufacturers at that time. But when we started business, of course, the growth was very slow initially, I would say in first 2-3 years. But we always had it in our mind that, India to get to that level where people become very safety conscious will take some time. So that's what, made us think of why can't we go out and, explore those markets which are much more developed, where there is already a lot of safety consciousness. So that would be a greener pasture for us. And this is what took us to Europe. And then eventually when we brought those products, we tried to compare the Indian products with them. There was a big difference, something like a difference between an Ambassador and a Mercedes Benz.
Right.
So the challenge was actually at that time to make that the Mercedes Benz with all the parts of Ambassador that are available over here.
Wow.
The first line of PPE that we started off is fall protection.
Okay.
So fall protection is a business where your job is to save the life of a person who is working at height from falling.
Like we have seen in films, पहले के जो अमिताभ बच्चन वगैरह के construction के films होते थे, we would see how workers would get injured and then the union would work for them.
Absolutely.
So that was
you got it right. So that's what we started with, and that's what we are known in the world now for. So fall protection, I would say, is still the bread and butter of KARAM today. And then over the period of time when we realized that KARAM is becoming an established brand, so then we thought, why not, leverage this to get into other fields of PPE. So I think the second product that we added was head protection, that is safety helmets. And I'm proud to tell you that, our Chief Minister, our Prime Minister, ऐसा कोई हिंदुस्तान में जिसको हमने टोपी नहीं पहनाई है अपनी.
That's beautiful.
The first and foremost thing, I agree with you, systems are important. Without systems, for sure, nothing works. But I believe more important are the people who make those systems and the people who run those systems. So the key of success, I am fortunate enough to sit over here, but honestly, I should have my 4,000 people sitting over here who actually deserve.
That's such a kind statement from you.
So, no hesitation, I'm really proud of the team that KARAM has built over these 25 years. We have, loyal people with us, few of them more than 25 years who were with us before that. And, most of the people on the top level, 15 years, 20 years. And they have given their blood and sweat into this business along with us. So, if you have the right team, I think that's what makes you do what you exactly want, that even if you're not there, things work.
Yes. Welcome to the Raj Smriti Show. Today we'll talk about manufacturing of safety equipments with special reference to KARAM Industries. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Nigam, co-founder KARAM Industries. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's an absolute honor having you. And last week we had the privilege of visiting your facility, and I must say, spick and span, totally on international standards. It was a lovely, lovely experience.
Thank you.
So to begin with, how did the idea come of establishing such an industry, and why the name KARAM?
Okay, so I'll answer your question in two parts.
Yeah.
How did the idea come? I think that's what came in first. So it's when me and my partner, the co-founder of this company, Mr. Hemant Sapra, we are related also. So I was doing my engineering and he got married to my sister.
Oh.
And we always used to think that we'll probably do something together because he's the commercial guy. And he always thought I'm a very intelligent engineer, may or may not be. And that's how the idea came in. And then he got this opportunity while in his business of trading, he met companies like Larsen and Toubro, who actually needed this kind of safety equipment, and there was no reliable manufacturer in India. So that's when we joined hands together to see to cash upon the opportunity and got into this.
And why the name KARAM?
So KARAM came in because in the initial days of the business, KARAM was not our brand actually.
Okay.
So the brand was Safe Tech. And over a period of time, we realized very soon, not very long after we had started, that there was a mix of Hindus and Muslims in our company, and we wanted to have first of all an Indian brand proper rather than go for a safe tech or anything. So how to mix the two cultures, like KARAM in Hindu mythology is hard work,
Yes.
and KARAM in Muslim mythology is blessings from God, from Allah. So getting both the essence of both the cultures,
The real feel of India.
yeah, and we still
keep
have
it
those old
intact.
pillars of the organization working with us.
Given your background, you belong to a business family. Your father was into pharmaceutical business, so I'm sure you must have gathered some insight into it. And given your technical education in the field of engineering, tell us how your childhood was. As a child, did you always visualize to become a businessman? How was it?
No, not at all. So
Okay.
I was like a very studious kind of a person, and doing well on the academic side. And I always had this dream to beat IIT and get into IIT Kanpur and become a good engineer. And then
So IIT was your dream.
that's right. And God was kind to me. I got into IIT Kanpur. That's where I completed my engineering from. And then, of course, like every IITian, everybody was looking at good jobs or going out to the US.
Corporate,
And it
yeah.
was the same with me. Then there were some personal reasons why my mom, not forced me, but requested me if you could do something over here. I said, I'll not get a job here in the city. And she said, why can't you do something with your dad? And, I'm an engineer. My education is very different from this simple trading business. It was a very small business. Like, if I remember, about 8 to 9 lakh rupees per annum of turnover at that time.
Okay.
So that was, my last semester. We didn't have much of work in terms of academics, because last semester in IIT Kanpur used to be very cool. Most of the time we were having companies who are coming to interview us, campus interviews
Campus
going on.
placements, yeah.
So I tried a hand. I said, okay, let me try for 4 months and see how this works. And I think by the end of the last semester, I realized that I was making a lot of money in that pharmaceutical business. So I thought, why not, grow this to a different level? And again, God was very kind. We turned the tables within a few months, and it turned out very successful. Till, of course, I joined hands with my brother-in-law, and we started KARAM.
So the experience helped you in, conceptualizing this industry and everything?
Trading is a very, very simple business to do, but nevertheless, it teaches you a lot.
True.
It makes you a good purchaser, and particularly when you are into a small setup where you don't have teams. Now, I think my purchase team would be doing all the purchasing. If they come to me, sometimes I am not understanding what they are saying.
Right.
So, it teaches you the basics of business. You are the purchaser, you are the seller, you are the one who's meeting the customers. You are the one who is going to get all the assessments done, meeting the government authorities. So I would say it was a rich experience that I could gain out of. And I was there in that business for about 3-4 years. And excellent learning, no doubts about that.
So, you decided to do something of your own, and you started with a rented space, and I guess with 8 to 10 employees was your strength at that time. And today you have close to 4,000 employees. Somewhere I was reading your entire facility of all the offices that you have is close to like 25 football ground sizes. Probably more.
Yeah.
And you export to more than 100 countries or so.
That's right.
What made you go global? What was the experience, or what are the challenges that you faced in the process, that from a employee base of 10 to 4,000 in 25 years, which is like, not even companies who are into fourth generation business can go to that level. But in these 25 years, you have risen to that level, which is commendable.
So, it all started initially with the domestic market, of course, with the Indian market. That's where we saw opportunity in terms of the fact that there were no, organized safety equipment manufacturers, PPE manufacturers at that time. But when we started business, of course, the growth was very slow initially, I would say in first 2-3 years. But we always had it in our minds that, India to get to that level where people become very safety conscious will take some time. So that's what, made us think of why can't we go out and explore those markets which are much more developed, where there is already a lot of safety consciousness. So that would be a greener pasture for us. And this is what took us to Europe. And then eventually, when we brought those products, we tried to compare the Indian products with them. There was a big difference, something like a difference between an Ambassador and a Mercedes Benz.
Right.
So, and then, so the challenge was actually at that time to make that the Mercedes Benz with all the parts of Ambassador that are available over here.
Wow.
So, yeah, we took it up, and that's what forced us to get more and more into manufacturing, getting deeper into all the backward integration, because, we are probably one of the only companies in the world which is fully backward integrated. And the idea behind that was the quality of components that we need to manufacture the final product is not available. Nobody can make. So there are special processes, lot of care behind everything. And yes, that's what made us grow.
So for growing, you need to have your systems in place. You need to establish processes so that even if you're not there, a successful business is one when even the founders and directors are not there, the system keeps on running. There's no lag. So to young entrepreneurs or young businessmen who are planning to start their business, what is your key advice to them? What all you have learned that you would like to pass on to the new generation?
So the first and foremost thing, I agree with you, systems are important. Without systems, for sure, nothing works. But I believe more important are the people who make those systems and the people who run those systems. So the key of success, I am fortunate enough to sit over here, but honestly, I should have my 4,000 people sitting over here who actually deserve.
That's such a kind statement from you.
So, no hesitation. I'm really proud of the team that KARAM has built over these 25 years. We have, loyal people with us. Few of them more than 25 years who were with us before that. And, most of the people on the top level, 15 years, 20 years. And they have given their blood and sweat into this business along with us. So, if you have the right team, I think that's what makes you do what you exactly want, that even if you're not there, things work.
Yes, very true.
I have a plant in Sitarganj, for instance, and it employs about 1,000 people and about maybe 35 acres of land. Big, huge plant. We manufacture all the PPEs over there. And I probably go there once in 3 months, only for a day. And if I be honest with you, I'm not required over there for any work. I just go there to just pep up my team, meet them.
Yes.
They feel happy when I'm there. And that's the only thing I do throughout the day over there. That's it.
As they say that, people leave their bosses, or people work for bosses, not the company. So if there's a good leader, if he's leaving your company, he'll take away all the good employees.
I'm not sure about that, but yeah, for sure.
So your employee retention is very good, I would say.
Excellent people. Yeah.
What all do you do to retain employees, or what are your best practices in human resources that keeps employees happy and working for KARAM?
So, there are a lot of HR practices. I would not like to get into those details, but I would say the crux of the show is that your employee should not feel that he is an employee. If your employee becomes an owner of the business, I guess the problem is solved.
Beautiful.
So the name of the game is you empower them so much, you trust them. Most important is you trust them and you empower them. We basically go wrong in the fact that sometimes we think that only we can do something and the other guy cannot do it. So I think that's where we go wrong. If we trust them, then they take more responsibility. They own it. In our plants, there are all plant heads, they literally own them, and if they want something, they want it. They will come and fight with me on my table, no issues. So I think that's what.
So you give them that onus, you give them a sense of belonging, that it's their company, their business, and that's why I think they are able to give their best to the organization. Tell us about the products. You have like kind of 3,000 plus certified products.
That's right.
So what are the products which you started first, and now in the era of globalization, what are your new products?
Okay, so this business was actually built on the first line of PPE that we started off, is fall protection.
Okay.
So fall protection is a business where, your job is to save the life of a person who is working at height from falling.
Like we have seen in films, पहले के जो अमिताभ बच्चन वगैरह के construction के films होते थे, we would see how workers would get injured and then the union would work for them.
Absolutely.
So that was
you got it right. So that's what we started with, and that's what we are known in the world now for. So fall protection, I would say, is still the bread and butter of KARAM today. And then over the period of time when we realized that KARAM is becoming an established brand, so then we thought, why not, leverage this to get into other fields of PPE. So I think the second product that we added was head protection, that is safety helmets. And I'm proud to tell you that, our Chief Minister, our Prime Minister, ऐसा कोई हिंदुस्तान में जिसको हमने टोपी नहीं पहनाई है अपनी.
That's beautiful. Nice.
So they all wear KARAM helmets, and we keep getting pictures almost every second day. So then after helmets, we got into safety shoes, we got into safety eyewear, then we got into ear protection, gloves, coveralls. So it's like all safety from head to toe. Welding protection. And nowadays we are working on, gas detection as well.
Okay.
Respiratory protection, masks. So any field of PPE and KARAM is there now.
We keep seeing, I think news में कभी आता है कि कोई वर्कर फंस गया है. अभी recently भी जो episode
आपने सारी KARAM की helmets देखी होंगी उसमें.
Okay, beautiful. That's so nice to know that you are everywhere.
Absolutely.
And the thought with which you started, because rightly mentioned कि इंडिया में 25 साल पहले we would not care for workers.
True.
They would work in worst conditions, and I think अभी भी बहुत सारे segments है like gutter cleaning and all जहाँ पे they don't have things, or we have still not used technology to help our people get out of those kind of work. So KARAM is certainly doing a lot and innovating day by day. So when it comes to your research wing, you must be having a dedicated research team that keeps on surveying the market and thinking कि क्या नए products आते हैं. What is your strategy in the research part?
So, per se, if I be honest with you, there is not a lot of research that we are doing.
Okay.
There is a lot of product development we are doing. And for sure, the input comes from the customer. So, based on the input that we get from the customers, we try to find a solution to their problem in our own unique way. And to support that, I have a very good team of about 32 engineers, and their boss directly reports to me. I almost have a meeting every day with him, almost 2 hours. And so the concept of all the development that we are doing is basically all the input that comes from the customers, because eventually it is your customer who's going to use your product.
Right.
So if you are able to make sure that he gets the right thing, I guess the job is done. If you get one customer who tells you that I would like to have something like an X, so surely there are a lot of other customers who are looking for that X. They may or may not speak.
Right.
If you are able to come up with the right X, it takes you miles.
How do you meet the international standards? Because European markets or American or Britishers, they have very strict guidelines of all kinds of manufacturing. Like in India, we are still a bit laid back. We make our workers work for 12 hours, 14 hours shift, but they have specifications. So given that you're catering to the international market, what are the few standards that you keep in mind while?
So, for us, we are into life-saving products.
Right.
And you have to understand that life-saving products, if you have to export into any country, it has its own standard for that. So, when it goes to Europe, it is CE standard, confirming European standards. When it goes to America, it's ANSI standard. Goes to Canada, it's CSA standard. Similarly, Singapore standard. So, we make products, design products, meeting those standards initially. And then, I think in our factory, almost every week or 10 days, we have some American auditors coming in, some European auditors coming in, somebody from Malaysia coming in, because we export all across the globe, and the only way to survive is to meet the required standards. And somewhere where I don't agree now with you is that Indian standards is no more the Indian standard that it was.
Okay.
So I mean, our Indian standards in our product lines are equally compatible with European and American standards. So one of my main guy, he also sits on the committee of the Bureau of Indian Standards, and he's done a great job over last 6-7 years to reframe all the standards. So they are all updated. They are all in line with American and European standards. So
given the visit that we had in your space, I was totally dumbstruck because, you know, the idea of an industry wherein, you know, a lot of machinery is there and production is happening. We have it कि वो गंदा सा होगा, dirty होगा, equipment साफ नहीं होंगे, चीजें फैली हुई होंगी. But it was spick and span. Everything was in shape. Everyone was working as per the discipline, you know. It was amazing to see. So definitely KARAM has set that benchmark, and as you're saying, I'm sure other industries also.
It's important, you know, if you have to make a good product, you have to have a good environment.
Very true.
If the environment is bad, then this is what you teach to your people. So often we, get some complaints from our own companies across the globe with whom we do business. And they say, how can this be ignored? How come this passed your quality control? How could it get away from there? And so I don't know what to answer to them, but I have to, in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm getting work done by 3,000 people here who are coming from villages, who live in a very small house, which is probably not that spick and span. So to get them into that environment, to get them to that level of thinking, where, even if a rivet is slightly deformed, is not right, is very, very difficult.
Right.
Because for them it is absolutely perfect. So they would sometimes ignore these small, very, very small details.
True.
So the only thing we can do is we can, give them an environment here in our factories, which is spick and span, as you said, to hammer that into their heads.
And then they learn that, and then they implement that in their personal space as well. Because when you are in a habit of working in a clean space, when you go back, you want that clean space. Whatever, infrastructure you have, you at least want cleanliness all around. So running this kind of empire, you must be constantly upgrading yourself. You must be reading a lot, doing a lot of things, traveling, things like that. Who's your role model or, business icon whom you look up to, or from whom you have learned over the years and you
That's a very personal question.
I know.
So I have 3 role models in my life, and all 3 are A's. Starts with Maulana Abdul Kalam. Then Ambani Dhirubhai.
Wow.
And third is Amitabh Bachchan.
Wow. So you've taken from all the 3.
I try to pull something from here and there.
Nice. So what are your key learnings from them? Like, what do you like about Maulana Abdul Kalam, or what is it that you've learned from Mr. Ambani?
He was a great man. He was the rocket man of this country. And there is so much to learn from him. The way he used technology, he came up with simple solutions at such low cost. So this is something great about him, and he gave his life to this country eventually in the end, and well deserved to be the president of the country.
Yes.
And Dhirubhai Ambani, again, a guy who was not educated, and he could build up such a big empire.
Very true. Out
of nowhere, and he had his own brilliant concepts of getting things done from people. The art of, the art of managing people that he had. He could rope in some of the best executives that he could find, some of the best professionals in the industry. And, thinking of something like, I'm going to make an oil refinery at that time, which was so capital intensive, from a simple, I would say, cloth weaving industry, was something commendable and great to learn from him. You have to dream big to make it happen. And then the third one, Amitabh Bachchan, is again a legend, who is, at this age also, you see, he's so active, he's working, so he's so hardworking. So, that's something to learn from him.
Very true. All the 3 leaders that you've said.
Never say die.
Yeah, all these 3 leaders are from very humble backgrounds. They started, with probably no penny in their pockets, and they created empires to which we look at, be it our President Kalamji or Amitabh Bachchan. They all had humble beginnings, and then they have created a legacy which I'm sure generations are going to look up to. And I'm sure after another 25-50 years or forever. Karam has again built up that space which people will look at, which people will value and cherish.
We try to work it out.
So, you talked about Karam being into the safety space and all of it. एक चीज जो हम लोग प्रोडक्शन में हमेशा देखते हैं, when you produce, you end up polluting the environment also. A lot of the pollution that we are talking about, the global warming or the global boiling that we are calling, is happening because of industries, not just in your sector, but across, be it garment industry, be it any industry we talk about, सबका कुछ ना कुछ pollution का एक angle होता है. How do you deal with that? How conscious is Karam as an industry taking care of environment and every other thing?
See, ESG is a very burning issue these days in the industry, and we do all possible steps which we have taken as of now. For example, if you're talking about pollution, so earlier we had a lot of waste water that was generated, which we used to treat, and we used to, throw it away in the normal drainage system. And that was about 2 years ago when we completely automated that process. We went into a zero discharge plant where there is no water being thrown out of the factory, to the extent that about 80-85% of the water that we are using in the process is recycled. So we continue to use filter that water, clean it, get rid of those chemicals which we don't need, and we keep on, and about a very small percentage, 15% or so, that वो इस लायक ही नहीं होता कि यूज किया जाए, so that we evaporate and we use a completely zero discharge policy.
Wow.
So there is no single droplet of water that comes out of the factory which
pollutes
could or could not be harmful for the environment. And but still there is lots to be done. You see, steel is one of our major raw materials that we use. Unfortunately, we don't make steel on our own. And steel is one of the largest carbon footprint generators in the world today. So I hope our suppliers are working. I know as an engineer that there are technologies where you can make green steel by using probably hydrogen instead of coke for reduction. So, but for sure that steel would be more expensive. So, but we are dependent upon suppliers, and I'm sure one day they will come to that level when they will.
I think people are realizing, and we are moving on towards.
So we are very much upbeat with that. We are. If you are doing business overseas, all these things are taken care of. वो customer ही सब आपसे करवा देता है.
Very true.
You don't have a way out.
Gender equality is again an important issue which we are trying as a nation, as a world, So with given 4,000 employees that you have, how safe Karam is an industry for women? Do you employ a lot of women? What are the opportunities for women in your organization?
As far as the blue collar jobs are concerned, unfortunately, the kind of manufacturing that we are doing is more on the heavy side. So it's difficult to employ women there. Yeah. But on the white collar jobs, we have a reasonable population of women working with us, and I've never heard any problem as such coming in from anywhere. And I feel this feels you would rather ask this question from my women employees rather than.
No, I'm sure you are leading, so everything comes to you at the end of the day. Karam is also into corporate social responsibility. So what are the activities that you do for the people?
So we are supporting, a lot of these NGOs, more on the education side, health, and this part is actually handled by our HR team, which is headed by my wife. So she would be the right person to answer. But off and on, I keep hearing that, we are supporting, for instance, some, sportsmen. Mainly, I think on the education side, that's where our thrust is, and even on primary health.
I think you're part of the
Thalassemic Society,
and you help them a lot. So, what are the 3 qualities that you think is required to be a successful leader? To have 4,000 employees working under you, and seeing everything run in a good way. Personal क्या चाहिए होता है? क्या हो आज के youth में, आज के leaders में, so that they are able to run an empire like this?
So, what we've been doing in Karam is, first and foremost, we've had our goals to achieve in place. They could be short term, they could be long term, it's always good to have some goals, and then you continuously work for that and try to achieve them one by one. Your short term first, and then of course
The
your
long
long
term.
term goals. So in Karam, we are very much into that. We have our targets for everything that we do. We have our timelines for everything that we do. So this, all this instills a lot of discipline in you, because this is some activity that you have to finish by this date. I'm talking on a micro management level.
Yes.
And once you get into that mode of chasing your targets, then things, automatically start working around you. You're able to, get the work done from your people also accordingly in the same line. I know sometimes it becomes difficult also, sometimes it gets tough, but then that's the norm of the day. So that's one important thing
Goal
that
setting,
we've learned in Karam. And then after goal setting, I think what's most important is that you set your goal, but you just don't work for your goal. Because if you are constantly looking at your goal, am I going to achieve that? Am I going to achieve that? Then you are compromising with your work. Then your focus should then, come to your day-to-day activities, your work that you are doing, whether you're doing it right or you are doing it in the best possible way or not. I'll give you a simple example. Sachin Tendulkar was one of the finest batsmen that India has produced.
True.
And if you look at his records, most of the time he got out in the 90s.
Yes.
And why? Because the moment he used to touch 90s, उसका फोकस गेम से हट जाता था,
100 बनाने पे
उसको
होता
100
था.
दिखने लग जाता था बोर्ड के ऊपर.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what we have done in Karam. We've never looked at what competitors are doing. We just concentrated, focused on our work. ठीक है, हमें इस साल में इंडिया में नंबर 1 बनना है. Fine. And now we are all at our job. And किस दिन नंबर 1 बन गए पता ही नहीं चला.
Instead of worrying, it was hard work all the
टारगेट
time.
बनाया था उससे पहले बन गए नंबर 1 और लगा कुछ किया ही नहीं अभी तो बहुत कुछ करना बाकी है.
True.
So if you are focused more on your work and not on things, sometimes my sales people particularly, sir वो competitor ने ये कर दिया, उसने सस्ता कर दिया, ये कर दिया. Don't tell us what he is doing. What special can we do which he is not doing? Let's focus on that. So we've never got into any business or any product which is a copycat. Me Too product हमने कोई बनाया नहीं पिछले 25 सालों में. We always came up with our own innovations, our own methods of pleasing our customer, making him happy, making him ecstatic, and making him proud of the fact that he's using a Karam product.
Wow.
So the setting of goals is one thing, and then working towards, जैसे वो कृष्ण जी ने भी गीता में बात कही है कि बेटा कर्म करो और फल की
चिंता मत करो और फल के लिए कर्म मत करो.
Correct. So I mean it's the same thing, the same philosophy. So I think if this is done, the job is done.
Any personal value, moral value that you think is important for a leader to have in his life so that people look up to him?
Integrity is very, very important. By integrity, I just don't mean integrity in terms of paying your taxes in time and not cheating the government or doing hanky-panky. By integrity, I mean your integrity should not remain only to compliances, but on towards your employees, towards your suppliers, towards your customers. So my partner in particular, I see him every day telling the salespeople, customer से झूठ कभी मत बोलना.
Beautiful.
Because these sales guys, they have that tendency, अगर कुछ लेट हो रहा है तो पहले वो कहानी कोई मन से बना के उसमें ज़्यादा बिलीव करते हैं. And he always tells them कि सच बोलो कस्टमर से जाके. So in Karam, if I tell you our responsibilities, our integrity towards our, I would say, suppliers, I mean 30th day, my supplier has to receive the payment. फिर उसके लिए हम कुछ भी कर देंगे, मगर हमारा कोई भी सप्लायर आके ये नहीं बोल सकता कि करम से हमें 31 days में पेमेंट मिली.
Right.
If I talk about my employees, I think in last 25 years, if I was not able to pay salary on 7th, it was because it was a holiday and the salary was paid on 6th.
6th, a day before.
Yeah. So I think these are small
practices.
things, small practices which show integrity. And again, I actually learned this from Dhirubhai Ambani. So in the making stages of our business, when we had just started Karam, So another reason why I'm a fan of Dhirubhai Ambani, at that time he was building that refinery in Jamnagar. And you have to trust me, we had only one customer, one big customer, Dhirubhai Ambani and Reliance Petroleum. And so Reliance Petroleum was like about 97% of our business and 3% was here and there. Because we made a good product, we got it approved. And it was something like that, जो कुछ बन रहा है दूसरे दिन ट्रक में लोड हुआ चला सीधा जामनगर चला जाता था. And I had a guy placed in Jamnagar who would chase that business, get the payments. And every time I used to look into, because in your making stages of business you are cash starved and you're looking at every penny that's going to come in.
True.
And every time when I used to look at the statement of accounts, exact 30 days में पटाख से Reliance की payment आ जाती थी. So I used to wonder, what this man is doing, and by giving the payment in 30 days, his purchase team could twist our arm whichever way it wanted.
You couldn't falter on any of your deliveries.
Yeah. I mean, not only about deliveries, purchase order, I went there for a big order of safety nets at that time. And his purchasing head was from Bombay. He used to fly almost every day from Bombay to Jamnagar and go back in the evening 3 or 4 times in a week. Very shrewd guy. And on the negotiating table, he could suck everything that he could get from me. Based on the fact that I knew that, man, very safe people to work with. It was a big order at that time, an order worth about 1 crore rupees.
Wow.
It was like a dream for us. And we were sure that in 30 days we'll get the payment. So, that's where your integrity helps you grow.
Very true, very true.
Yeah.
So, what's the way forward? Given that you have covered almost 100 countries, you have brands, a lot of brands also under the name of KARAM, and you have 3,000 certified products. What's the way forward?
So, as I said, we've always believed in setting up goals for ourselves, and most of the goals we've achieved. The first main goal that we had was, of course, to become the number 1 brand in this country, which we achieved almost about 10 years ago now.
Wow.
And the ultimate goal which both me and my partner had, and we thought that probably by the time we achieved that, we would retire. It looks like it's happening earlier. Was to become the number 1 fall protection company in the world.
Wow.
And the direction in which we are going, the way we've created our own market presence, our brands across the globe now, starting from United States of America to South America, South Africa, Africa in particular, Middle East, Europe, Southeast Asia, Australia, and I mean, China is the only place where we are not there at the moment. So it's like, we've already got our all guns in place, and we've got enough energy and enough material resources to produce all the ammunition. And I would say we've started firing. And looking at the current conditions, if no corona or anything comes in, I think 6 years we should be there.
Wow.
Where we want to be.
Interesting.
So, इसके आगे का भी हमने सोचा नहीं
सोचा. 5-year goal, I think, is a good plan. And how is KARAM aligned to the Prime Minister's 5 trillion economy that we keep hearing about?
So, the major part that he, puts his thrust on is the fact that, your dependence on China, your dependence on any other country should reduce as much as possible, and you make everything in India. And as I told you, in the world, we are the only company, who has a completely fully backward integrated plant. So we are not dependent on any manufacturing. I can't tell you that I don't import anything from China, because there are a lot of machinery which we buy from China.
Right.
So, but we are restricted more to buying of machinery rather than buying materials. So we use the Chinese machinery to produce world-class products.
Wow.
which it works. Sometimes you get a nice Chinese machine and you make some changes in that to make it produce a German product.
Interesting.
So it works. Yeah.
So, the last segment, what is it that you'd like to tell to our viewers as a leader, as an individual, as a business person? What should people do to live a happy, healthy and a successful life?
Okay. So this is something which is very common in our company, and something which I shared with my employees, all my entire team on dais at several occasions कि we all, and a lot of people have practiced that also, and they've really gained out of it. तो हमारे यहाँ एक फिलॉसफी है जिस पे हम लोग काम करते हैं कि जो कुछ भी करेंगे अच्छे से अच्छा ही करेंगे.
Wow.
So whether it is getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, having your shower, spending time with your family, working in your office, driving your car, listening to music, whatever you are doing, if you make a conscious effort, शुरू में आपको थोड़ा सा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी उसके लिए, but बाद में it will become a part and parcel of your life. So a lot of my employees came to me privately and told me, sir, मैंने आपकी ना वो फिलॉसफी पे बहुत अमल किया और मुझे बहुत मज़ा आ रहा है. See, life is very beautiful. It is all about our perception.
Very true.
So अगर हम अच्छे से अच्छा करेंगे सुबह से शाम तक सब कुछ, तो सब अच्छा ही अच्छा होगा और अच्छा ही अच्छा दिखेगा.
What a lovely message, जो भी करिए अच्छे से करिए और अच्छे से अच्छा करिए. Lovely. It was lovely having you, Mr. Nigam, and we wish KARAM Industries more success and more of everything, the best of everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm privileged. Thank you very much.